morning, everybody, and welcome to TLC Live as every Wednesday. Welcome back, Orlando. Why you laugh?
Andrea's a little stressed out this morning, so let me jump in and help her out.
Yes.
Traffic in Houston is just
No, it's not
terrible.
traffic, it's family issues.
Anyway, good morning, everybody. Delighted that you're joining us. We have a great program for you today. Actually, I just finished a live radio interview with iHeartRadio. It wasn't live; it was recorded.
It was recorded?
It'll be aired on Conservative Talk in El Paso, Texas. It was
Oh,
a iHeartRadio station with their local conservative talk show host Andrew Polk. As you know, we're going to be in El Paso this weekend.
I was gonna say. So they were talking to you about the Leadership Latino this Saturday.
Exactly,
And we have an amazing turnout.
we have an amazing
yesterday.
turnout. We may have a capacity crowd, but that's a good thing. So if you're watching us
It's
in
a
El
good
Paso,
problem.
it's a good problem to have. We're going to be at the Spring Hill Suites Marriott in El Paso Saturday, the 29th, with our Leadership Latino class. And I want to thank Andrew Polk at the iHeart radio station in El Paso for a wonderful interview. And a lot of exciting things going on. We had an election last night, and in Houston, Texas, to fill a term that is a sort of it's called a vacated seat. So when there's a vacated seat,
For City Council District G.
Council District G in Houston, and you had to have a special election. We had a couple of friends in that race. One of them was Mary Nan, the former prosecutor for Harris County, who also represents HPOU, had run for district attorney, Mary Nan Huffman, and she won. And she won without a runoff last night, which was pretty impressive.
I know, and we had her twice at the show last year, and she is amazing.
So congratulations to Mary Nan for winning outright. We also had another friend that we helped a little bit, former Fire Chief Roy Reyes, and he tried. And I give him credit. A lot of people won't try, and Chief Reyes did a good job. And if Chief Reyes is watching, I'll remind him I lost my first two races, so never give up. But anyway, it was good to have two friends. A well-qualified candidate won, Mary Nan Huffman, is going to be a great city councilwoman, is going to serve a long, long time because she's filling an unexpired term, so she gets to serve for almost 8 years. Now,
We need to bring her back to the show.
yeah, we'll bring her back and talk about, what it's like to be a rookie on the Houston City Council. All right, let's move over because we have important races coming up. As you know, we're in the primary season, so everybody that's running on the conservative Republican side is seeking the Republican nomination in various counties across Texas. So we're going to scoot on down to our neighboring county, Brazoria County, and bring in a friend of mine that I've known for many, many years, literally, almost 2 decades. And he's running for, I can't remember if it's state district court or county court at law, but it's Gregory Rincon.
County Court at Law.
County Court at Law.
Number 2, yes.
Okay. So, Greg, welcome to the program. And Greg, can you hear us? He obviously has his audio off. And
Greg,
I can hear some paper shuffling, so
Yeah.
I don't know if our other guest has his mic on, but if they can mute themselves.
Greg, are you
cannot
hear
hear
us,
you.
Greg? Are you with us?
Greg, can you hear us? Okay. Greg, I guess muted the audio, so he can't hear us.
Okay, well, we have...
If he turns his audio on, we'll bring him back. I can see him
He's
looking at
gonna
the
call back,
screen,
yeah.
trying to figure out how to get back in. So anyway,
he called back. Let's see if we can connect with him and before we introduce our second
it's always
guest.
a challenge to do these things.
Technology.
I'm here.
Greg. Okay.
There he is,
Awesome, Greg.
all the way from Brazoria County. we were
Bienvenido.
like, we introduced you, and
Yes,
you were
yes.
like MIA.
Well, I was watching, and then the internet connection, I guess, just froze up. But I was enjoying the discussion that y'all were having already. But thank you again for having me.
The discussion about the traffic or the family issues that I have. That's why Orlando was trying to point it out that I was late.
Well, yeah, we all have drama in our lives.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Some more than others.
Well, when you have teenagers, you have a lot of drama.
Hey, Greg, so thank you for joining us. As I told everybody, I've known you for a long, long time. And I knew you before you had a law degree. I knew you when you were in law school. I knew you when you passed the bar, and now I have known you as an attorney, and then now as a candidate for a judicial position in Brazoria County. First of all, give us a little bit about your background. Where'd you grow up? What inspired you to pursue the profession of law as a barrister in Texas, and then what convinced you to run for the bench, and what are the issues that you're running on? So if you can remember all that, kind of share that with us. Bio, and then background, and then your experience as an attorney, and then what are the issues you're running on?
Well, those are very good questions, Orlando, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on the show. TLC Live is a great format. It's providing insight, knowledge, and candidate information, and just leadership information to the Latino community. So, number one, thank you for doing what you and Ms. Gomez does. It really is a great benefit to the Latino community. Well, I'm from Houston, born, reared, and educated. I went off to University of Texas Law School, or excuse me, undergraduate school, Hook'em Horns. Finished out at University of Houston, go Cougs, and then waited a few years before going to law school and graduated with honors from U of H for my undergraduate in criminal justice, and then graduated Thurgood Marshall School of Law with honors, cum laude, and ever since then been practicing. Even before I finished practicing, or before I graduated law school, Orlando, I received my third year bar card with the supervising attorney. So while 2Ls, second year law students, and third year law students were still in classrooms, I was already in the courtroom. And so I was gauging, where did I want to practice? Did I want to be a litigator? Did I want to be a transactional attorney? Where could I do benefit and do the most good? And so during those 2 years, year and a half before graduating law school, it gave me a good idea of the avenue and the areas of law that I should be practicing. And so for those last 17 years now, I've been practicing in civil law, family law, guardianship, probate, criminal, misdemeanor, and felony. And all of those areas of law that fall into the county court at law number two, which is the judicial bench that I'm running for here in Brazoria County. The current judge that is there, Judge Mark Holder, has been there, or will have been there, for 20 years at the end of his term, which is December of this year. He has done an excellent job for the citizens of Brazoria County. He has been a fair and outstanding jurist for cases. And my hope and goal is to continue that, but to go even one step further. With the census that just came out, the Brazoria County population has just increased, almost 20% alone in Brazoria County. Of that 20% population growth, the Latino portion of the population has just surprised everyone about the growth and residents of Hispanic Latino descent that we have here. Brazoria County uses one paid contractor as an interpreter for individuals that speak Spanish as their primary language. And if Spanish is their primary language, and unfortunately they are a defendant in a case, whether it's criminal or civil, then we as attorneys for those defendants and the defendants have to wait for this contractor. And this lady, Miss Rosario, does a fabulous job, but unfortunately she's one of only one contractor interpreter that goes around. So my goal is to try and get additional interpreters in there. So when you ask what focus I have on running, was to allow every citizen of Brazoria County to have access to the Brazoria County justice system. I would like every resident, when they come in, whether it's a civil case or a criminal case, whether it's a probate case, they lost a loved one, whether it's a guardianship, unfortunately seeking guardianship over someone, or if it's a misdemeanor juvenile case, whatever the issue is, that they have complete access to the justice system, that they feel that their case is being heard once they present it, and a neutral and fair decision is made, either by the judge or by a jury. And so, based off of my 17 years of experience, having grown here in the Houston area, right next door in Fort Bend County, I've lived here now in Brazoria County for 20 years with my wife, Veronica, who you know very well. And I think you even attended our wedding back when we got married some 23 years ago. So we established Brazoria County as our home, and we made it uh, a focal point of our lives. And we're parishioners here at St. Helen Catholic Church, which is the largest Catholic church in Pearland, and we've been here ever since.
Greg, you were pointed out the fact, the census 2020 just give us a better idea of the growth, not only on the population, but on the Latino population. And we're being seeing this year that a lot of articles on the news are also highlighting the fact that the Latinos are not only voting more, but are only also running for office like you. So, tell us about that, and what is your thoughts of this new era of the Latinos not only participating more in elections but also running for office.
Well, it's exciting. Number one, it's exciting for the our Latino population to have choices of individuals that are familiar with their heritage, with their culture, with their background. Uh, we are just individuals. Any candidate running for office is an individual. No one should prop up a candidate, whether it be president, governor, U.S. senator, state representative, or county judge, at any higher level than your voter. Everyone is equal in our system and in these United States. The only difference is you, the candidate, or that candidate has made the decision to run for office. That candidate has made the decision to put their personal lives to the side and focus on the public because they believe, he or she believes, that they can offer some good, some experience, some knowledge, some benefit that will make our area of town, be it a county, a city, a state, or a nation, a much better place than what we found it. That is my goal as a judicial candidate here, to make the judicial system here in Brazoria County just a little bit better than when I started, and to allow fair and just access to all Brazoria County residents, whether they be of Hispanic background, Latino background, African American background, Caucasian background, whatever that background is, equal opportunity to justice. And that we follow the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Texas. That is very important these days. I don't want to legislate from the bench. And that is an important factor of being a conservative running for a judicial position. And so when you say that I'm constitutional, you are correct. I'm following the Constitution. Constitution is not written in water or in pencil where you can erase it. It's a firm document, and we need to follow that. There's no room for interpretation. Our founding fathers were very deliberate in what they did. Now, if voters decide to amend that, well, then there's a process to do that at the state level as well as at the federal level. But for the community, the Latino community, to have a much greater opportunity of choice, of having Latinos who can understand the culture and the heritage and the challenges that are faced of our Hispanic community growing up and earning a living and taking care of our children while respecting the culture and the heritage that we have is the greatest opportunity that we can give our community.
Greg, in the last few minutes, as I said at the beginning of the program, we've known each other for many years. Back when we were sort of, let's say, our civilian life, before you had a law license, and I think before I was even elected to the Houston City Council. And while we were personal friends, I want to share this story because it really speaks to what's happening in Texas. You and I originally didn't agree politically on most issues. You had come from, I'm going to let you speak for yourself, but my recollection is you were more on the liberal side, kind of leaning on the Democrat side. And for years, you and I have talked and banted about issues and whatnot. And I saw in you a transformation ever since you expressed an interest in going to law school, as you were learning about the law, as you passed the bar, as you became a practicing attorney, to become what I really consider to be what many Tejanos, what many Hispanics, what many Mexican Americans are experiencing in their own personal life, a full-fledged conservative. Walk us a little bit through that process so that people can understand the phenomenon that's happening in Texas. Because, Greg, I think you're going to agree, what's happening in Texas is a phenomenon with Latinos now starting to realize that at one time the Democrats may have had good issues associated with social issues and addressing community concerns, but they sort of moved away from that, and so there's this great movement towards conservatism. Explain that to us. What has been that process for you personally?
Orlando, you're going back in history. I
Way
think,
back. Yeah.
yes, that's when I had
A
dark
young
hair.
man. Yeah, right. And I had hair.
I, I like to think I'm still a young man. But thank you for the question. It's a challenging question, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk about it. Uh, the short answer is uh, Reaganism. Ronald Reagan was a Democrat at one point in California. Then he changed and he saw the light, if you will, and he became a conservative Republican. More importantly, a conservative. That is the transformation that happened to me. Um, I believe in the community. I believe wholeheartedly in the community that we all need to work together to make our community much better. Without a doubt, one person cannot do it. However, when you have social policies, I don't believe in giving, in continuing to give handouts. I don't believe in legislating from the bench. I don't believe in letting criminals out, not be invested in their own release and having to pay some dollar amount to be out on bail while they're pending their allegations that are against them. These are the conservative values of the Republican Party when it comes to a judicial standpoint. Now, I can't talk about a lot of the principles because then that's a judicial ethics violation, Orlando. So I have to be careful about that.
Right, right.
But just talking in general aspects of it, I'm running on the Republican ticket because I am a conservative. You have witnessed that. My father was a true diehard Reagan fan, and him and my mother would have discussions, lively discussions at the breakfast table when I was growing up still in junior high and high school. And my father owned his own business and he worked day and night, 18 to 20 hours, literally installing and repairing air conditioning systems. That is the work ethic that I got from my parents. And they didn't ask for a handout. My dad didn't believe in a handout. He just wanted the opportunity to have a fair chance at securing a contract, getting the job, performing that job, and then being paid a fair wage for that job. And that is the true principle from a standpoint of Republican fiscal policy, if you will. And so you take that and you enlarge it. And so when individuals start their businesses, and I think now Latinos are becoming more educated. Latinos, their first and second and third generations are going to college and they're getting their education and they're finding opportunities where they can have their own businesses. And as such, then you look at that fiscal policy and the social policy of what do they believe in order to help prosper and develop their business. And so at large, when you ask me that question, well, there's the answer. It's a development phase. And there's nothing wrong with that. People, that's what's great about the United States of America. We're allowed to make decisions. We're allowed to change our minds. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. But in the end, what we need to get back to is agree to disagree and do it amicably, do it responsibly, and let's not be angry at each other because we're all Americans and we all need to live together here in these great states of the United States.
I heard a term last night, happy warriors. That's what conservatives are, happy warriors. Greg, I want to thank you. We're going to move on to our next guest up in the Dallas area.
But call to action first.
Want to wish you the very best real quick. What can, call to action, what can people do to help you?
Well, I appreciate that. If you live in Brazoria County, please go to the polls. Early voting starts on February 14th, Valentine's Day, and goes all the way to February 25th. And then the March primary, March 1st, Tuesday. Go out and vote. Vote for your candidate. If you're not registered to vote, please get registered to vote. The deadline is January 30th. So you only have a few more days left in this month to register to vote. You can go to my website, www.rinconforjudge.com. Thank y'all guys for putting that up there. And there's a phone number. You can click on how to volunteer, and we can deliver a yard sign. We can, if you would like to make a donation, all of that information is there. It gives the history, my family background. I'm blessed to have my family supporting me. I'm honored to have the support that I have. Mayors, elected officials all throughout Brazoria County that continue to support me in this endeavor. And I thank y'all again, Texas Latino Conservatives, for allowing me to be here with you.
Delighted to have had you. Good luck, and we'll talk to you soon.
Gracias por todo y bueno, suerte con tu posición.
All right, Gracias. We're going to move up Interstate 45 up to the Metroplex.
Brad Namdar, he is running for U.S. Congress representing the district number 32, which is the Dallas area.
It's up around the Dallas area. I actually met him through Mrs. Namdar. I was in Round Rock, Texas.
She's Latina.
Exactly.
She's Latina, and she's the one that reached out to me, and we were talking in Spanish. We were texting in Spanish, and then she sent me an email, and she highlighted, by the way, Brad doesn't speak Spanish.
Yes, I know. So, but
it's
anyway,
good enough with one
Brad,
person in the family.
Yeah, Brad, you have your wife to thank for being so, engaging and coming to us. I met her in Round Rock, and she introduced herself. She said that you had the honor of being married to her, and she brought me over and introduced me to you, and that's where I met you. And then she reached out to us a couple of weeks ago and asked if we could have Brad on the program, and we're happy to have Brad on the program because it's important for people in the state of Texas to understand who's sacrificing and running for you, and it's fair to let them have an opportunity to share their issues. So, Brad, welcome to the program.
Thank you guys so much, and District 32. First of all, my wife, she's amazing, as you know, and
she is.
Me habla español un poquito, I know things
like
casa.
Mira, tienes que aprender un poquito en la casa.
Sí, porque si Brad quiere comer, tiene que hablar español.
Si Brad quiere comer, and I'm sure when Pia gets mad at you, she just bring all the Spanish to you.
Exactly. No, I'm blessed to be with Pia. Being in North Texas, you have to be able to understand, the basic Spanish that you have. But when she speaks and she's mad, I can't understand it. It's so fast. But it's an honor to be on the show. And so I am running for the United States Congress, Texas 32. And it's now changed due to redistricting, which is super important. And that goes from Balch Springs all the way down. And that's the Dallas County part of it. So we have like Balch Springs all the way to Collin County, which is Plano, and then Denton County. So we have 3 counties now in this new district, as opposed to where it used to be just Dallas County by itself. So now we have a more diverse population. We have a kind of a broader range, and having 3 counties is 3 different, places on the ballots, 3 different county, headquarters. And so it's been an exciting journey thus far, but I'm blessed to be able to be on. Blessed to have the opportunity to run.
Brad, tell us about your background and your last name, Namdar. What is that from? And tell us about your background and why you decide to run for office.
So my last name Namdar comes from my parents. They moved here from Iran right back
Mm.
before the fall. Yeah, right before the fall of the Shah. So as you know, that's when we had the Ayatollah that took over Iran and the kicked out Shah. It was a bad time. So my parents' grandparents had the wisdom to say it's time to go before things got bad. So they left Iran and blessed to be in the United States. And then they had me and my sister. And I always say it all the time. My sister is the favorite one. We were born in Dallas, Texas, so it's Persian heritage and lineage. And I grew up here in North Texas. I've lived here my whole life. I've been a public school teacher. I've been a college soccer coach. That's also a huge part of my Hispanic Latino connection with the community by members of the Hispanic community and Latino community, from members who are members of FC Dallas to Mexican national team to Major General Alzapanta, because you have to know the culture and to know that the Hispanic constituency, the Latino constituency, is the Texas constituency. So it's important that we understand them. And so growing up through North Texas, I told you, I played football. I was a field goal kicker at Texas Tech and SMU, and became a teacher, college coach, and then started my own small business. And I said, you know what? It's time for me to step up and run for office because of the way our country is going. And I think we need to advocate a lot more for our Hispanic and Latino constituents here in North Texas.
Well, I want to tell you that we've had the great pleasure of discovering a new Persian restaurant in Houston. It's right around
Oh
the
my
corner from
God,
our offices.
yeah.
I'm not speaking for Andrea, but I can tell you, Brad, that I've gained 4 pounds in the last week, and we've gone there almost every
Eating
night.
a lot of rice and bread. You
It's
guys
good.
have amazing food, and is one of my favorite food, Persian food.
But anyway, listen, let's talk about.
It's fun.
Go ahead.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because let's just take a moment and enjoy this. I'm on a I'm talking to Latinos, right? You're talking about Persian food. We're all American, and do you see any division? Nothing.
No.
We all.
No.
It's embracing. It's beautiful, and that's what our party is.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of America that I always remind people that are watching. Brad comes from Persian heritage, married to a Latina from Mexico. I'm Cuban and an immigrant, and Andrea's Colombian and an immigrant. I think Pia is also an immigrant. I mean, this is a beautiful country. Only in America can people from every corner of the world, every religion known to man, can come together and live under one constitution. That, to me, Brad, is amazing.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the issues. First, top 3 issues in your congressional district when you hit Congress. What are you going to talk about? What are you going to fight for?
So every single day, I've learned that it's almost like there's a new issue and a new crisis, if you haven't noticed. One thing is that obviously we have to secure the southern border, and that doesn't mean by any means we're not, good people. It's just as a fact, we have to secure the border to stop, and deter from other people being exploited. I think people lose that in the narrative, that there's people that's exploited with the border. Now, we also have to look at our education system. Our educational system, to me, is important as a former teacher as well, because if you build a system that's designed to fail or to just push along and get along, you're going to have your country gone. We have to look at our monetary refinements on what we're doing with our international trade and policy. There's a lot of things from cyber to foreign affairs. My current congressman that I'm challenging for his seat is on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And what I've seen in look at what's going on with Ukraine, we gave Iraq pretty much to Iran. That's not good what's going on in the Middle East and our international trade with them. I don't like it. I don't like OPEC turning up the spout. We have inflation. There's a lot of things we got to deal with when I get to Congress, but I'm very confident we can handle the tasks ahead as long as we get there. And we need younger, prepared, principled conservatives willing to step up for the challenge, because it's not easy, guys. This is an everyday thing, and I'm willing to step up and take that fight.
Brad, Texas Latino Conservatives has been concerned about the immigration issue, at least how it affects the millions of undocumented families here. We have the Dreamers, and then of course we got in 1986, which was the last time. This is actually embarrassing to say because I think we're a great country. but I don't know that our legislature is that great. The last time immigration issues were addressed in this country, which I think they need to be changed and looked at and revised and amended every few years. But the last time the
Right.
United States Congress, that's responsible for immigration policy and immigration laws, was 1986 when Ronald Reagan signed the Immigration Adjustment Act. And since then, Congress has totally ignored it. Now, the issue has become fodder for both parties, right? And meanwhile, there are millions of families lingering here that may have crossed the border 20 years ago, 25
Yeah.
years ago. And they now have children that are U.S. citizens, that are joined the military, that are firefighters, that are serving as peace officers, that are working in hospitals, in what we call, critical positions, right? Because we heard about this during COVID. COVID disproportionately hit the Latino community because a lot of the service folks at restaurants, construction, hospital workers, service workers at hotels are Hispanic. And so they were hit extremely hard because they show up to work every day. So Congress keeps talking about the issue. The Republicans say this, the Democrats say that.
Right.
Meanwhile, we, the taxpayers, are lingering with a failed immigration system.
Yeah.
The families are suffering because they're separated. They have children that are U.S. citizens. Mom and dad are not documented. And
Right.
we've come up with what we call a family stabilization. I thought this many, many years ago and have been promoting it. Why don't we allow families that have never violated the criminal code to apply for a legal status, renewable every 5 years? They pay for all the program costs. By the way, there's no pathway to citizenship for those folks that came here as undocumented aliens, at least not residing in the United States. If they want citizenship, they could go back to Guatemala, El Salvador, Mexico, and apply through the embassy the legal way. But as long as they're here, they could apply for a legal status and renew it every 5 years. No pathway to citizenship, no voting, no running for office. But it stabilizes the family. The reason I'm bringing all this up is because it's very interesting. There's a congresswoman, and I forgot her name. You remember her?
Maria Elvira Salazar.
Yeah,
She used to be a main anchor of one of the biggest Spanish TVs.
yeah. And so she was elected, a Cuban American, to the United States Congress from Florida. And she has come up with what's called the Dignity Act, which essentially mirrors family stabilization.
Yeah, very similar.
Is to give dignity to the families that have lived here for decades, that are, as many people say, as President George W. Bush used to say, living in the shadows.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Brad, we polled that issue among the most conservative Republican primary voters in 5 counties in Texas, and they support a permit process for non-criminal aliens that did at one time violate policy by entering the United States without inspection and now have families here. What's wrong with that? I mean, why can't we get leaders in Washington, D.C., in the House and Senate to come up with those simple solutions?
Well, all right. I love the question, and I also love the idea. So here's why. So I have a primary, right? And primary, you gotta say what your thoughts and ideas are. Well, here's the deal. I'm also a Texan, and I'm also an American, and I'm also not dumb. So here's I'm going to say. It might be dumb to talk about it online, but I don't care. Again, when I go to Congress, I'm going to be objective. I'm going to tell the truth. If anybody says that DACA kiddos, by the way, we need to, anyone running for state house, here's an idea. TAFSA. Maybe that's a good idea to help those kiddos out. I remember when they got rid of that because I was a former teacher. I had kids who didn't even know they were DACA kids. They had no idea, it's a sad thing to be in, but I 100% support having the conversation and that's comments, creating a new tax base. It's a new tax base. It is, I call it purgatory. You ask people to live in purgatory, it means the shadow economy. You're asking them to do cash only. You're also asking people, yes, of course they've been here. There's people with fake social security cards that are paying taxes for 20 plus years. And yes, it is terrible. You do not need to break the law. I am not for open borders. I'm not for illegal entry. I'm not doing that. But I'm sorry, I didn't create this issue. I'm 33 years old. I'm inheriting a broken immigration issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I got to be firm with that. I don't care who you are, where you come from, what your last name is. If you're here, we got to also look at the visas, the backlog in our visa program. If a country's not taking the amount of visas we're allocating to them, well, why don't we go and take that to another country that's more backlogged? But under no circumstances does any Republican or does any Democrat or does any American believe that we should forsake people who want to be productive members of society, who come to this country and want to be. That's not going to be, you're going to hear out of my mouth saying we need to deport people or anything like that. I'm going to advocate for common sense.
Well, I mean, the idea that we're going to deport 15, 16 million people, I mean, are you kidding me? Let's get off of that. Let's talk realistic. Everybody wants the border secured. Everybody wants that border airtight. If you want to come to this country, follow the law. But, again, as you stated, this is a problem we've inherited from lazy Congress for decades. Again, 1986 was the last time Congress even wanted to touch the immigration issue. And that just tells me there's a lack of leadership.
We will. All right. So just because I want you to know this, as the Texas Latino Conservatives, you guys are having we're having a discussion about this. I want to be firm here. One, we're going to fix it. My generation, we're going to fix it. I will get it done. You actually lower this. I have just let it plan. I've written it out. But at the end of the day, in the general election, it's going to be great. I know that it's going to work. It's good. And I've had very conservative people. They are 100% supportive of it. But at the same time, I want you to also say this, because my opponents are going to go say, oh, Brad's now, for, bringing in illegals and bringing this. That's not what we're doing.
He's for open borders.
We're not doing that. We're saying a common sense solution to a problem that exists. And I'm not going to do political plug talking points. We need people who want to fix solutions and bring solutions too, and also have the conversations. And if we don't, we're going to fail and be ignorant as a country. So, we got to change that narrative. I think it's important to do that. And I hope you guys feel that that's who we are as Texans as well. We want to fix problems and not just keep them going along for donor dollars or whatever you want. We want to fix problems.
Well, I've always said that Texas is about applying conservative solutions to difficult problems. I'm looking for Congress members and senators that'll step up and address this issue that's facing Texas.
Brad, this is not about a party. This is about the people. This is about our state. This is about our country. And I was talking to one of our friends, Larry Levine. He's from South Texas.
He's from Maverick County down in Eagle Pass.
Yeah, and he said that he went last week to visit with the mayor of Pharr, Texas. The mayor of Pharr is Democratic. He's more on the liberal side, but he was talking to Larry and he was telling him, I am tired of this situation. I am mad of the current administration. This is nothing to do with who's the Democrat or Republican. This is about our border. They forgot about that. They just letting people in, no rules, no regulations. They don't know what they're doing. And we are the first people that are facing this, because they're crossing to our borders and they're taking our resources, and then they're going to the big cities, which is Houston, Dallas, and Austin, and
North Carolina,
and then they're going up north. So this is a whole country. This is not a party issue. This is people issue. This is everybody's issue.
And I've been to the border. Actually, I'm the only candidate in my race that's been to the border 3 or 4 times. Depends on certain areas. I actually walked into Mexico with no passport, came back in with no passport. I've seen the rancheros along the Rio Grande where they have docks and they bring people over for labor trafficking. I'm with the Secretary of State of Texas Businesses Against Trafficking, and I'm on the U.S. Chamber of Commerce to eradicate human trafficking task force. So there's a difference between that and then also the narcotics, and then also a lot of other issues. That's why I said at our border, it's a humanitarian crisis.
Brad.
It's a democratic issue. It's a humanitarian crisis.
Brad, you talk about human smuggling, right? But there's sex trafficking, and then there's but the other portion of human smuggling is, of course, bringing in cheap labor, which there is an insatiable appetite in the United States for cheap
100%.
labor. Let me repeat that, folks. There is an insatiable appetite in the United States for cheap labor. Congress has to be aware of this issue. And again, they do nothing. They're aiding and abetting the human smugglers, the cartels that are the ones charging $8,000 per person to cross the border, uninspected, undocumented, into this country to provide. Somebody is hiring millions of undocumented aliens in this country. They're working. And so if the United States was serious, they'd put an end to that operation and it would end. But again, you can't put an end to that operation. You can't put an end to the hiring of illegal aliens, undocumented people, as long as businesses in this country hire people and there are no consequences for doing that. Let's get real. And the way to fix that is for Congress to address that issue, which they haven't touched since 1986.
Yeah, it's for sure labor. Well, so there's one thing is that there's two types of, or there's really three types of trafficking: is human trafficking, sex trafficking, and labor trafficking. Now,
Correct.
I've talked to our current ad commissioner Sid Miller about it too. You'll see them in farms sometimes, and they go all the way up even to Ohio, to Michigan, and people will be there. They'll rent out these trailers and stuff, and they live there and they just work for pennies on the dollar. So that is something that we have to also make sure that we have oversight of and make sure that we address, because it's something that's a problem. And when you let in one problem, a lot after that. And I think that's a conversation we need to be having in Congress and in the state house. Penalties for businesses or entities that aid and abet to this practice. I mean, you can't have it both ways at the end of the day. And also, you have to make sure that we're, feeding American jobs. That's taking away work from our own constituencies, our own people as well. So we have to make sure that we do that. But by pushing that agenda of cheap labor all the time, could be taking away American jobs. So until we plug this immigration system, all this labor one, it's going to be tough, but it's worth having the conversations. And I'm going to be a member of Congress, hopefully, who's going to be back on your show, and one day and we'll talk about it and how I'm going to be honored to have those conversations going forward.
Good.
Hopefully. So talking about jobs, everybody is so worried about people are quitting the jobs. They're not going back to work. So what would you suggest in case that you get elected to try to fix this big problem that we've been facing for the last year and a half or 2 years?
It's been an interesting year and a half and 2 years. And I'm blessed. Listen, my campaign, we are the only campaign that has knocked on doors. We've knocked on over 5,000 doors. We're the only campaign with yard signs out all across the district. We talked to the voters. I met with businesses. Labor also, you'll see about the demographic. I want to say around 27 and under was a mass exodus in 2020 from the unemployment checks, and also from, people were traveling. We all have Instagram, It's one of those things where people are traveling to parks and national parks. So that influx of cash that we put in the system has put in a kind of a, you save money, a backlog of time where they have to go back to work. I mean, at Starbucks, they're offering incentives to go to college. What we need to do is stop printing money to stop inflation. At the same time, we have to put in there some people. It's going to run out, but the unemployment, if we keep pushing unemployment to the people who don't need it, there's people who do need unemployment and need our services. But if we keep pushing that there, it's going to delay it. At the same time, a lot of people left jobs too because of the the pandemic, working at home. We've now created a new economy of e-commerce that's never seen the world before. I remember I own a small business, but the level of e-commerce, we now have to get ready for the battles and the economies of tomorrow, today. That's why I need to be elected to Congress, because we have some things like GoFundMe. I don't know if you guys heard of GoFundMe, but that's where you can donate.
We're not that old.
Well, it's not a nonprofit. And I know that, I was appointed, and I've overseen nonprofits. I worked with nonprofits in college. Well, if you write donate, that's a pretty big deal. IRS is going to come hard. It's like the Wild West. People people make fake GoFundMes and it's funneled overseas. I've seen it multiple times. So we have to get ready for what's the word I want to use? Be ready for the legislature tomorrow by looking at legislation that allows us to incentivize good practices to get back to work. One of them will be, for sure, stop printing money and legislating for this new economy and new commerce system we have. If we don't, well, then we're just spinning our wheels. And those are the conversations we need to be having.
I saw on my news feed an article that said that the Great Resignation was really the Great Renegotiation.
Yes.
What's your sense? Is it that inflation is starting to creep and people are saying, "Hey, wait a minute, I'm renegotiating this wage or this contract"? Is it the Great Resignation, or is it people holding out knowing they're going to get a government check, but they know it's running out here pretty soon, and now they're renegotiating their positions? Or is it a combination of both?
I mean, I don't know what other people think or what they do, to be honest with you on that. But from what I've heard from knocking on doors, I think that a lot of people honestly were scared about COVID. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's different levels of. Some people did have a hard time and got laid off. Some people do use it to renegotiate because a lot of companies need to hire right now, and a lot of people look. Mental health is important, and in 2020 it shook a lot of people, and it made them say, okay, do I really want to do this job? Do I really want to stay here? Do I really want to work here? So I think it's a combination of both, and a lot of things as well. I mean, it's something that, look, the pandemic was something we've never dealt with as a country before, like this level and magnitude that we're still dealing with today. So I think it's a combination of all of them, but I also am very confident once we get a new Congress in, we're going to represent the people the way we need to be represented, and we're going to be on a better track.
Good deal. Well, listen, thank you for taking the time out to be on the program. Andrea likes to ask that question. What's your call to action?
Yeah, how people can help you to help.
Okay, please, please, please. So, guys, visit my website. It's www.namdar.com. You can see my endorsements. I'm honored to have the endorsements from members of Congress to school board conservatives to constituents and business leaders. I have over 70 of them, as well as please donate, because we got early voting February 14th through the 25th and then March 1st. I know everyone says donate, but every dollar we get, we use it and we stretch it for $10. And by the way, running for Congress during inflation like this is a lot harder than it would be in previous cycles. So please, 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 your support, or if you'd like to endorse or volunteer or just reach out, please visit our website. We have an Instagram, we have a Twitter, we also have a Facebook, Brian Namdar for Congress. Please follow us on there. And prayers are good too. Good vibes and good prayers.
All right. Well, thank you. And if you're ever down in Houston, let's all get together. We'll have one evening we'll have Persian food, one evening Cuban
we go to
food,
Mary's
and
restaurant.
then we'll have Colombian food. So we'll get a taste of Houston. Wrap it up with some good barbecue. So anyway, send a hello to your lovely wife Pia and thank her for reaching out to us. Best of luck. Let us know if anything changes or if there's any information you want to share with us. And we'll be in touch. Thanks a lot, Brad.
Brad, thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll see you guys.
All right.
So the most important thing is not only to support the candidates, of course, with donation and everything, but go register to vote. As Greg said, only few days to register to vote till January 30th, and then February 14th, Valentine's. We know what we're going to do in Valentine's. We're going to go and vote. Early voting.
Absolutely. Get voting out of the way. You have a lot of time. There's no excuse why no one goes to the polls and support candidates of your choice. We hope that you'll vote for the conservative candidate. Before we went on the air, again, I want to repeat, I was doing a program with Andrew Polk, the iHeart radio program in El Paso, and Andrew was telling me there's tremendous apathy in El Paso County with respect to voting. He was talking about turnout in the single digits, 6-7% of the registered voters turned out for local school board elections. I mean, those are the most important races, Andrea.
Yeah.
You've seen parents get upset with what's going on in the classroom and the curriculum teaching our kids. And yet only that, do you realize that means that 94 to 93% of the taxpayers stayed home, and your school district is your highest tax rate?
Oh, I know. Oh, tell me about it. I
That,
pay a lot of money
I
on
just
that.
don't comprehend that in a democracy. How can 94% of registered voters sit at home when you have an election for the entity that charges you the highest tax rate in the state of Texas? If
And many
someone,
of them, they don't even use public school. I don't use public schools.
yeah, so you're double paying because you think your school district is too poor to send your, poor in quality to send your children, and so not only are you paying the highest tax rate, you're sending your kids to a parochial school or a charter school, or you're homeschooling them. I mean, I don't get it. So if somebody can provide me with an answer of why 90+% of the registered voters sit home during important local elections, I'd be happy to hear that.
I will give you my thoughts on that. It's a lack of education. They don't worry about get educated on elections. The media, of course, is doing a poor job
Horrible.
educating our community when it comes to elections.
The news has become entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
And shoving an agenda. They don't provide
It's a
people.
fashion show.
Yeah.
It's a fashion show.
No, it's a sideshow at a circus. That's what the media is
It's
today.
a fashion, a circus, and also they're concentrating more of the dead body of the day than concentrating on what is important. Whoever we elect that affects our life every single day, our kids, our education. So I really, that call to action to the media.
I'm sure we're both going to be hearing from our friends at Channel 2, 11, and 13, Telemundo and Univision. But hey, guys, you have a responsibility.
Yeah.
Deliver the news honestly, fairly. This isn't,
And I'm not going to blame the reporters. I'm going to blame the people.
Absolutely.
The people
Reporters
that is making the decision,
Yeah.
which is the producers and the news directors.
Yeah, no, the reporters work their tails off. They do. It's assignment editors, producers,
Correct.
and station management, and of course the private equity firms that own these big stations. I mean, but the news, it's just been derailed. I mean, I haven't watched the news, Andrea. Have to be none of it in months. I mean, I hate to admit that.
I know.
But I'm not, and I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I'm sort of up on the issues, talking to my friends or reading,
And you're not the only one. Many people tell me the same thing. I don't even
like,
want to watch the news. It's horrible.
Yeah, they don't provide any educational
No.
information. And I mean, I'm not saying education like you got to teach us something, but just tell us who, what, when, why, and where. And we'll make our own decision, but that's not the news anymore. But anyway, I don't want to upset all my friends in the news. We're running out of time. Mark is going to charge us overtime.
No, I want to remind you guys that we're going to be in El Paso. We're leaving Friday. The class of Leadership Latino is going to be Saturday, starting, I believe, at 9 o'clock in the morning till 3 o'clock.
3 to 4.
3 to 4.
I'm sorry, 9 a.m. to 4. We're providing lunch, coffee, snacks, breaks, but we're also going to give you a lot of
no
information.
cost. Texas Latino Conservatives is providing these classes for you. The only thing that you need to do is just show up but register first. Of course, you still have time to register. We have an amazing turnout so far. We have 29 people registered to go to El Paso.
We probably have over 30 today.
Yeah, that's really, really good. I'm so excited about it. So please, you still have time to register. If you live in El Paso, around, and anywhere, we don't care. We just take everybody from Texas. Go to El Paso and go first to TexasLatinoConservatives.com or LeadershipLatino.com, because also Leadership Latino has their own website, but you can find it also in Texas Latino Conservative. You can register and be there with us on Saturday. So also, become a member of Texas Latino Conservatives. Is only $35, but if you want to contribute a little bit of more money, you can do that, and you can help us to help, because everything that we do, this talk show, the Leadership Latino, everything that we do costs money, so we need your help.
And what I'm looking forward to the most, aside from meeting all the young folks up in El Paso, is taking Andrea to Rosa's Cantina and to the Lucchese factory where they make wonderful boots.
Oh,
so
I love it.
This is going to be amazing
I'm
because
so excited.
she doesn't know anything about Texas honky tonks, and this is a historic place. Rosa's Cantina, as you know, if you listen to country music, is a famous song that we're going to listen to on the airplane on the way to El Paso.
Okay, so we're gonna go to Rosa's Cantina, and then I'm looking. I'm more excited about to go to the Boots place
Yeah, I
because you
know.
always
because
talk
it's
about
because it's shopping.
it's a shopping, of course, and you always
Yeah,
come. You
yeah.
every time that you come back from Paso, it's like 7 or 8 pair of boots.
Right.
So
So,
I'm excited to buy. I mean, not 7 or 8, but probably two,
eight
three.
pair, eight pair because you got to get ready for the Houston Livestock Show and
That.
rodeo
Oh
coming
my
up.
God! Yes.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're out of time. See you next week. Again, go to our webpage, TexasLatinoConservatives.com. If you like what we do, if you like the mission of making Texas more conservative and bringing more Hispanics, Latinos into the conservative movement in Texas, make a donation. None of this is free. We rely on donations. We're here because of generous Texans. So we'll see you next week. Take care. God bless.
Nos vemos el próximo miércoles. Chao, chao.